I guess this is a photo of the Hubble telescope taking a picture of itself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And
yes, NASA uses renderings, but NASA also has more than one probe in the exosphere or around the planet. So that picture of Hubble telescope, I don't know if it's a picture or a rendering, but if it is a rendering, the caption would say at the bottom, that is what we are very clear about, we as in science, is like, this is an artistic rendering, or this is a model, or even when we see like images of planets and satellites or moons of other planets, many times they would say it's false colored. Sometimes they would say, here is a image taken of the black hole by this and this telescope, and the telescope is, I don't know, using X-rays or UV or IR, not UV, but IR, or infrared radiation, and we can't see that. But the telescope would then convert into something we can see, and then it could be false colored. And they would say at the caption, and this is a false colored image.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of this is like, I think, understandable misunderstanding in terms of like, you know, inside baseball, like these are a certain level of scientific literacy is necessary to be able to, because I understood most of what you just said, but also if I were to approach like one of these renderings or one of these false color maps, I really need like an expert to help me identify what it is trying to say.
Yeah.
And those visuals can be manipulated. I mean, we've seen now how much artificial intelligence can create images that look real. And, you know, even with, what's the stuff where they make someone say something that they didn't say?
Deep fake.
Deep fakes, you know, and it's sort of like you can understand people getting really worried about images, but at the same time, this person is looking at that image and thinking of it like we don't know anywhere what that image is from.
Yeah.
But this person is using it as evidence that a telescope can't have a picture of itself.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that. Right? Like, I don't know that. This could have been right when it was going out, or it could be from something else that was passing it. Like, there's multiple explanations, and I don't even know what's going on. So I personally wouldn't conclude anything from seeing that image.
I can give you a couple of good reasons off the top of my head why that is. Where does most of the population reside on the planet?
The northern hemisphere.
So there is no reason for the flights to go through through Antarctica. The flights that will have to go through closer or around Antarctica would be in southern part of South America, southern Africa, and Australasia. Right? And how many travelers how much connection is there among those countries? I can see South Africa and Australia having flights because both being British colonies, so they have ties going back.
Right.
So are there actually commercial flights there? That's one aspect of it, where the population or demand is. The second one is one important thing to look at every time a flight path is designed is probably able to rescue people and able to have connectivity with air traffic control.
Right.
So there are even I have flown over North Pole because there are flights that go from like North America to Middle East that like fly over North Pole.
Right.
They do lose connections at times, but there is a higher capability or chances of rescues there, as opposed to Antarctica is a landmass unlike Antarctic. So very few people can still go there, and half the time you cannot fly in and out of it just because inhospitable conditions. So if a flight were to have a disaster over there, then it's effectively just those lives are lost.
You know what this reminds me of is when I was learning about maps in geography, and how when they started flying across the ocean, they would just sort of set the compass like east and just fly straight east, which took them so much longer than when they would fly. Like, this is a flat Earth, curved or spherical Earth question.
Yeah.
Why, when you're going east on the globe, would you fly over the North Pole? Well, it's the shortest distance on a sphere.
Yeah.
And so they were plotting out these long trips across the ocean when they didn't need to. It could have gone a lot faster.
And then another example of someone who's flown in both direction, east and west, to the other side of the planet, is the flying times are different. If it was a flat Earth, the flying time would not be different going one direction versus coming the other direction. It doesn't have to be flying to the other side. We are in Calgary. We are actually right now in Edmonton. I'm based in Calgary. If we were to fly to Toronto from here, the flight times are different.
Yes.
And one aspect they could come up with, like jet stream or whatever, which again are based upon Earth being spherical. It's also that if the Earth wasn't spherical and rotating on its own axis, the plane would not be moving faster in one direction and slower in the other direction.
Yeah, because the Earth is rotating.
Yeah. So if you're flowing, I'll have to think about it, but if you're flying in one direction, your destination is actually coming closer to you, not just because the plane's getting there, but the Earth is also turning.
Yeah. I was thinking too about how the toilet flushes the other way in the southern hemisphere. Am I right about that?
Yes, it is. That's a phenomena. I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, the whirlpools.
Coriolis effect, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But I just, like, there's so many small things that prove that there's, like, different force and gravity and, the rotation of the Earth. You brought up the seasons. And all of these things cohere together. That's the important thing for me, is that they all kind of work together to build a picture.
So that is exactly what has happened. And I think some of the flat earthers, or most of them, have forgotten where they're coming from. As we came with, I say we, as in humanity, we started out as flat earthers. We believed it was flat because we saw it flat, we observed it flat. But then a lot of these phenomena did not make sense, and to come up with explanation, more and more evidence built up that Earth is actually not flat and round.
Right.
And so we became round earthers. Because that is what it explains. And back then, nobody had ever left the planet to actually see it was round. It was like all of these effects, all of these phenomena that are natural. It's not just like toilet flushing, it's also hurricanes too. Yeah. Or tornadoes, which direction they rotate in. So that is the aspect of it, is like evidence. If it falsifies the theory, then it has to be abandoned. So the flat Earth theory was
their evidence is also, or their belief system is so durable despite that evidence. Like, for example, all of the one-off things that you're bringing up that prove that the Earth is a sphere, that you could always that's a claim with evidence behind it, and it coheres. But if you undermine the credibility of the people making those claims, and if you create something beyond those claims that is trying to force those claims on us, then you can basically, like, disregard anything. You can disregard anything if it's part of a conspiracy. And the thing that always gets to me about the conspiracy, and part of the reason I wanted to make these videos with a real scientist, is because I was showing these videos to students, and they were, some of them were watching it and going, maybe it is flat. And that's not the purpose of the documentary. And so, but the point is that, we can think about how we, kind of poison the well against science and NASA, whatever. And there might be flawed people at NASA. There might be flawed scientists. I'm sure that's the case. But the thing that I keep coming back to is why. Like, who would profit from a lie of this magnitude? And if the point is to control us, what am I doing in my daily life on the basis of the Earth being a sphere that would be different if the Earth was flat? Yeah. Like who am I giving money to that I wouldn't be giving money to?
Well,
Or who am I believing that I wouldn't be believing? Like, what would really change for me that I'm being controlled?
Well, whomever made that T-shirt, Flathead Society, is definitely getting money because someone's paying money for all the merchandise, right?
Yeah.
But for some and you are the philosopher here, you might understand this better than I, but for some people, it may not be necessarily start with money or end with money. It could just be about control or dominance, right? That I'm going to start a counterculture, and I will be the pioneer because we still have that mentality of being the first.
Right.
I'm going to be the pioneer,
So
and I'm going to start something. Yeah, and then it will bring me fame or infamy, but that is still fame, and I will convince people to do that because people, I would have followers. There's probably, I don't know, but my guess would be it's the same mentality about a cult or some aspect of religion.
So the interesting thing is, like, when I think about fallacies, right? And we're identifying fallacies in people's arguments. But what I think is interesting about fallacies is they go both ways.
Yep.
So they'll say, this is a popular belief, therefore it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone would say, this is a popular belief, therefore it must be wrong because the masses are duped or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just want, to highlight how in both instances, the fact of a lot of people believing something is not a reason for something's truth.
Yeah.
Whether that's for or against a claim.
Yep.
So I think a lot of times you have in the conspiracy sort of mind, a lot of that reverse bandwagon. So everyone thinks this, but that's because they're duped, and I'm different, and I'm not being duped. So, really to think about, there's a grain of truth there, which is that just because a lot of people believe something doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
But just because a lot of people believe something also doesn't make it false.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of the direction that I'm hoping people can take from this is that both of those directions work.
And either of those direction, wherever is the proof, is the direction one should follow.
That's the hope.
Yeah.